All right, so let me tell you a little bit about what I do.
Okay.
My company sends me out to talk to seniors about all the changes that are taking place in Medicare. And one of the reasons they do that is because you get a big old book from Medicare every single year. It looks just like that right there.
Yeah.
And I know if you're like most of the seniors that I get to go out and talk to, as soon as you get that book, you can't wait to open it up and you can't wait to read it cover to cover, right?
That or toss it.
Right, set it in the drawer over there, kind of put it out of the way. And I think that's what most seniors do. And really the reason that Medicare sends that book out to you is they have to tell you about what's going on and about what's changing in Medicare, because there's an awful lot of misinformation that we're finding out there. You know, I know that when it comes to seniors, a lot of them are going to watch television. They're going to, get information from a lot of different sources. And sometimes when you watch TV and you get your information there, depending on what station that you're watching, it's going to depend on what information you get. Some stations will tell you that Medicare's going away and they just want seniors to, go to the happy hunting grounds, and other stations are going to tell you that nothing's changing and nothing, and so many seniors get confused. And so what I see a lot of times is they don't know where to turn to get this information. And it's really nice that Medicare sends out a book for people, but even the seniors that I talk to that do open it up and actually take the time to read it tell me that they're more confused about it when they get done than when they start it.
That's true.
And fortunately for all of us, Medicare doesn't just print one book. Okay, they print out some others, and I've got one right here that I like to talk about. And if you'll notice, both of them come from the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services.
Yeah.
Okay, they've got the Health and Human Services logo down here. And the reason that they put out another one, because this one's a whole lot thinner, obviously, and a whole lot bigger words when it comes to the inside, so it's easier to read, and it's actually written in English. And, it kind of helps explain exactly what people are covered for.
I'm not sure I ever got this one.
See, that's kind of the hard part. Medicare sends you this one, and they don't tell you that you can call and request some of the other publications that they print out.
Yeah.
So when I come to a senior's house, you have to understand, first of all and foremost, thank you for letting us come talk to you today. I also understand that I'm a stranger to you. You don't know me. So there's no way that I would expect you just to take the words that are coming out of my mouth. And trust me, everything that I talk to you about today, we're going to back up with third-party documentation. And most of it comes from Medicare.
Okay.
Because let's face it, when it comes to this type of stuff, where do we turn to get it? I talk to seniors all the time that tell me, oh, well, I talk to my friends about it. And I think when we talk to our friends about it, we've all got that one friend. I think you'll know who I'm talking about. He's that one that seems to know everything about everything. It's actually probably my brother, okay? But I stopped listening to him a long, long, long time ago. So when we can't get some of the information from our friends, and really you have to understand why I stopped listening to him a lot. I found out he didn't really know what he was talking about. And so we can get misinformation that way. And so when we can't get it there, I see a lot of seniors do what my parents did. When my dad turned 65 and got on Medicare, he calls this big, huge family meeting and he says, listen, I'm on Medicare now. And when it comes to my Medicare and when it comes to my health insurance that goes along with Medicare, if it doesn't pay for a bill, you have to let me die. Because I'm not going to bankrupt your mother.
Well, what a smart man.
But, I'm looking at it, and I'd just gone through a big, huge situation with my family, my wife and I. We decided that we wanted to find cheaper health insurance. And this is something I'm going to caution you on very, very quickly, and that is, don't ever tell anybody what you pay for your health insurance. It's none of their business. I had somebody come to my house and knocked on the door and he asked me what I was paying for my health insurance. I told him, and the next thing you know, we're talking about saving $200 a month. And man, that sounded pretty great. Being a young family, bills are tight. I'm thinking that sounds fantastic. Unfortunately, by the time we were done, about 3 months later, we found out my wife and I were pregnant with a set of twins, which we were hoping for. One daughter first, then a set of twins.
Yeah.
So it worked out right, but my wife went into labor at 29 weeks. And obviously that's a little early. By the time we were done, my wife delivered the twins about 2.5 weeks after that, and my son was in the hospital for about 2.5 weeks, and that medical bill was about $187,000.
Right.
That cheaper health insurance, unfortunately, only paid about $20,000 of the bill. So if the insurance company doesn't pay, who do you think had to?
I get it.
I got stuck paying about $167,000 out of my pocket, and I learned a couple of things back then. One, I learned that an insurance company is only ever going to pay for what they owe you.
Mhm.
Two, they're not our friend. Okay,
No.
they're in business to make money,
Absolutely.
and you want them to. You want your insurance
Of
company
course.
to be profitable, but at the same time, you want to make sure that they're going to do what they say they're going to do. And for us, I found out the hard way that what I thought was full coverage isn't anymore, and we're seeing that a lot with some of the seniors out there. You know, we've got seniors, because of the changes going on in Medicare, because medical costs are skyrocketing, and Medicare's cutting back. It's opened up some new gaps in the Medicare world, and when it starts opening up those new gaps, that's Medicare telling us that we're either going to put more responsibility on the seniors or we're going to put it on their insurance companies.
Mm-hmm.
And when they start putting it on the insurance companies, a lot of these insurance companies that we would have at one point considered the biggest of the biggest and the best of the best, we found out they weren't the best of the best anymore. You know, from things like not paying doctors on time, losing, you know, information that they needed so they could delay those payments, to just flat out canceling seniors.
Mhm.
You know, we had a lot of seniors canceled over the last few years out of their insurance.
Now, does a lot of this have to do with Obamacare and the changes in just the way we're insured anymore?
And see, I think that's where a lot of people get or ask their questions about. They talk about Obamacare because you hear about it a lot on the television. The good news is Obamacare doesn't affect most seniors. There are some that it will.
But it's taking away a lot from the Medicare pile.
Yeah, they're
money.
gonna take a lot of money out of the Medicare program over
To
the
pay
next 20
for
years to help
Obama.
cover the cost.
Yeah,
Okay.
and that disturbs me.
Well, the good news is about half of what they're taking out of Medicare is going to come by eliminating some of the fraud that's taking place, which is a good
I
thing.
wish I could believe
Okay,
that.
I agree. I agree. Once again, that's what they tell us, right?
Yeah.
And then the other part of it's coming from a program that they call Medicare Advantage.
Mhm.
It's a different way seniors can get their health insurance through Medicare. Once again, sometimes things that sound good don't always end up being the right thing for most people. So my job is pretty simple. My job is to educate you about what's going on in Medicare, help you get caught up on those things, and help you evaluate whether or not those changes are going to affect you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if the changes don't affect you, my gosh, don't let anybody come into your house and talk you in or out of something. But if they do, at least you need to know about it.
That's true.
I study Medicare 4 to 6 hours every single week. I'm doing the market studies, I'm doing the research, because if it's going on out there, I need to know about it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've still got a mom that's on Medicare, and it's important to her, so if it's important to her, it's important to every senior that I'm entrusted to go out and I talk to.
Mm-hmm.
And so I take the time to go through that because I know how big of a deal it is for people.
Yeah.
I think the last thing anybody wants is to go into the hospital and have a major bill.
Oh, absolutely.
And when it comes to our kids, I think that's the same way they are. They want to make sure, just like I did, that my parents were in the absolute safest place they could be.
Mm-hmm.
Problem is, I had no idea where that was at.
Right.
You know, you get this book.
And we don't know where it's at either.
Unfortunately.
Most of my senior friends.
Right. Well, you get this book every single year, and you told me that you didn't read it.
I really, I
You kind
thought
of flipped
through,
through
but
it. Sure.
it's monstrous. It's too much.
And you've got kids. You've said 4 of them, 2 of them
Yeah.
that live pretty close.
Yeah.
And you don't look like you're old enough to have kids on Medicare.
I know.
Okay. Which is fantastic. Okay. My question for you is this: when it comes to if you're not reading this book, in its entire and understanding all of it,
Yeah.
do you think your kids are reading this book?
No. Heavens no.
Obviously they care and they want to make sure you're in the safest place, but if you don't read the book, sometimes it's very difficult to give really good information.
Sure.
And so I see a lot of times kids will get involved and they'll say things that, unfortunately they got through that misinformation.
Yeah.
They talked to a friend or a neighbor and their dog's aunt had this problem come up, and there's where a lot of the misinformation comes from. And I even see kids sometimes go to the extreme of trying to tell their parents what they can do and what they can't do. My parents gave me a power of attorney over some of the things that they did.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't for the fact that they couldn't make their own decisions, but they owned a business, and my gosh, if something happened that they couldn't be available to sign checks. They needed somebody to do that.
Absolutely.
And I think even though I have that power of attorney with my parents, I think if I were to make a decision for them without their input, I think they would come down still to this day and run me over with their motor.
That's exactly right.
Drive back over me just to make sure I felt it the first time.
We're still mom and dad.
Right, right. Most people, most seniors I talk to have been making their own decisions for about 60 years, 70 years plus. Who are us as kids to try and take that part of them away, right?
That's right.
So like I said, they care about us, they want the best for us. A lot of times they don't know where it is. So when we can't lean on our friends for some of this information, and we can't lean on some of our children for this information, then where do we turn? Well, same place most people do. They pick up the phone and they call a local insurance agent and they ask him to come out and sit down and talk to him. And I did that for my dad. I called him up on the phone. The first question he asked me is, well, who does he have and what is he paying for it? Okay, now, I already fell for that. It wasn't going to happen again for him. And so I said, no, I need to understand a little bit more about that. Can you tell me about it? Then he started to explain to me all the different types of insurance that they have. And he's all, Rich, I don't have time to go through all this stuff. Well, do you have paperwork you can send me? Somewhere. Okay, so I realized that I needed to learn a little bit more about this. And that's really what got me studying Medicare. Was I wanted to make sure that I understood it so my parents could understand it. And you know, I think insurance, the local insurance agents, I think they're great folks. I think they try super, super hard. But just like the guy I called, they've got so much stuff, and when we're dealing with all these different products, you can see how it's impossible to be an expert in any one of them.
Right.
Kind of a jack of many trades and get an expert in none of them. I kind of compare them to a family doctor. You like your family doctor, right?
Yeah.
I think you should. If you don't, I'm going to tell you right now, find a different family doctor. But, you know, family doctors are great. They probably have a little bit of knowledge about almost anything that could be wrong with us. We go in there with a cough, they give us a pill or a prescription for that. We go in there because our knee hurts, they give us something for that. But when it comes to the big things, when you actually need somebody with more knowledge than that, most people go to that specialist. And that's what I am when it comes to Medicare. Like I said, I study this stuff 4 to 6 hours every single week. And my commitment to you is this. By the time we're done, it's not going to take very long. You're going to be able to look me in the eye and you're going to be able to tell me whether the changes in Medicare have had effect on you or not. The good news is you're not going to have a single thing to think about or worry about. Is that fair?
That's fair.
Now, here's the thing. If the changes don't have an effect on you, I'll be the very first one to give you my 2 thumbs up, my stamp of approval, and I'm going to get out of here. But if they do affect you, at least you need to know about it. What you do with that information is up to you. I know a lot of times when I'm sitting down meeting with seniors and they find out the changes have had an effect on them, they want to do something about it. But it can be very, very difficult because in order to do anything about the changes in Medicare, you have to be able to qualify.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah.
now, let me tell you about how I work.
Okay.